Good morning and welcome to the National Congress of Black Women, Southern University Law Center's Vulnerable Communities and Peoples Initiatives virtual financial workshop. I am Alfreda Tillman Bester, and I am Special Counsel for Human Services at Southern University Law Center's VCPI program. On behalf of Chancellor John Pierre, welcome to the Law Center. And on behalf of Dr. Terry Bird, who you will hear from shortly, welcome on to this event, as I said earlier, sponsored by Southern University Law Center and the National Congress of Black Women. Southern University Law Center has a rich history of being involved in its community and providing services and information, education for people across the state and across the nation. We have a day that is packed full of information for you, but before we get started, we want to be decent and in order, and we're going to ask Dr. Fletcher Bell to come forward for us and bring us the invocation and also a few words about stewardship.
Good morning, everyone. With all eyes closed and heads bowed, we come saying, Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to meet, albeit virtual. We're meeting in your name, God. We know that the things you have put in our heart, Lord, the gifts you have given us, Lord, are to be used for your benefit, Lord. As we come, we want to remember the words said in your Bible, Lord, that as each has received a gift, to use it to serve one another as good stewards, as God's very grace, Lord. As we come, Lord, we say thank you in that name, Lord. We thank you for the members of the National Congress of Black Women. We thank you for the staff at the Southern University Law Center, Lord. We thank you for the volunteers and the workers of the Vulnerable Communities and Peoples Initiative, Lord. And as we go forward on this day, Lord, we ask that everybody leads with a better understanding, everybody leads with more knowledge, and everybody use the gifts and the things that they've learned today for the benefits of you, God, and then your word, Lord. These blessings, these praises, we say thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. When it comes to stewardship, we are all stewards of Christ. We are all members of Christ. We are all members of God's body. So the gifts that we have, the things that we use, we have to use not only for the benefit of ourselves, but we are endowed through Christ's sacrifice for us to sacrifice and do for others. So what that gift, I'm turning it back over to you, Dr. Bester.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bell, for that prayer and for those words of wisdom. We're going to now go to Ms. Vidette Bush-Jones, who will give us our purpose for today.
Good morning to everyone in attendance. My name is Vidette Bush-Jones, and I'm the recording secretary for the National Congress of Black Women, Baton Rouge chapter, and a member since 2015. I would like to thank Minister Bird and the members of NCBW Baton Rouge for entrusting this portion of the program to me. While we push, and that is pray until something happens through these days of COVID-19, life still goes on, but we don't want to exist. We want to live. One of my personal mottos is make some money, save some money, blow some money. And on the topic of make some money, my NCBW sister, Ms. Pamela Barber, is going to teach us investing basics. This is the natural application of Matthew 25 and 27, which says, then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming, I should have received what was my own with interest. Mr. Collis Temple III will speak on creating multiple streams of income. As Ecclesiastes 11, 1 through 2 says, cast your bread on the surface of the waters, for you will find it after many days. Divide your portion to 7 or even to 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. Let's now learn to save some money, because Proverbs 22 and 7 says, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower becomes the lender's slave. But Ms. Kimberly Gaines is going to teach us how to understand credit and manage debt. And of course, let's blow some money. That's spend some money, but with boundaries. Mr. Darren Collins will teach us how to develop and manage a budget so that we may avoid Luke 15, 13 through 14, which reads, not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country and squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. It is my belief that today's seminar is going to teach us how to avoid all of those pitfalls as God has ordained. This is the purpose of today's presentation, and I thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Bush Jones. I want to be sure to try to do things decent and in order, but every now and then we mess up a little bit. I want to go back to Dr. Terry Bird and ask her to bring us some words of welcome from the National Congress of Black Women. My apologies, Dr. Bird.
Thank you, Dr. Besser. No problem. Thank you, Ms. Bush, for that wonderful purpose. I am Dr. Terry Bird, the president of the National Congress of Baton Rouge, and I too, along with Southern University Law Center, want to welcome everyone to our 2021 Financial Health Workshop. It's my pleasure to have all of you to join us on today, and I want to thank you for joining us as we provide information, education to our community around finances and understanding money. In planning this event, it was important that we planned with everyone in mind to provide information, strategies, and tools to help you with better managing your finances. I personally believe that we are responsible for developing a blueprint for our children to follow that will put them on the path, on the right path, to create generational wealth. Financial inequities have existed in our communities long before the pandemic, and it is critically important that we gain information to help reposition and empower all people as we move forward toward better financial health. We have experts here whose life work is to help people understand the responsibility of money and financial health by managing debt, budgeting, banking, investing, and creating multiple streams of income, as well as entrepreneurship. Again, it is my honor to welcome you to the Financial Health Workshop. Thank you for your presence, and we hope that something will be said that will help to put your life and your finances on another course. Again, welcome from the National Congress of Black Women. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Bird. Well, we believe in being prepared here. One of our speakers was unable to be with us, Dr. Donald Andrews. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the importance of financial literacy. All that means is not only understanding terms, but understanding how you can access capital, how you can access funds when you need additional money to do a particular thing. It also means learning how to save a portion of your money and a portion of your resources, and to preserve resources that are inherited resources, and also those things that you are able to generate on your own. You're going to have so much information today. I don't want to try to get out ahead of anybody, but you're going to get really good information, and you're going to have the opportunity to ask and have your questions answered. There is a Q&A on your screen, so please put your questions in the Q&A. If you have the opportunity to chat as well, but try to remember to put your questions in the Q&A. Thank you so very much. And we're going to go ahead and open up with block one. We will start with Ms. Pamela Barber. I don't yet see Ms. Gaines, but we will start with Ms. Barber.
Good morning, everyone. I am Pamela Barber. I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones, and I'm going to present to everyone the basics of investing. And if you give me 1 second, I'm going to share my screen. So, okay, and if everybody can let me know if I can get somebody to nod that yes, You're able to see that? All right, wonderful. So this is just, and as Dr. Bird has said, as everybody said, we know that this is going to be a lot of information. And so we're giving you this information so that you have some tools to use as you start to go on your journey to be more financially healthy. And so I'm going to present to you these 10 rules of the road, principles of investing that can help you achieve your goals and avoid some of the common investing mistakes. So let's get started with rule number 1, which we call develop your strategy. Your strategy should be based on your long-term goals, your length of time to invest, which also may be called your investment time frame or your life stage, your comfort level with risk, and the steps that you need to get there. In addition, working with a financial advisor can help you outline and prioritize your goals. Sometimes you may have some trade-offs along the way, but your strategy can serve as a guide to help you remain on track during periods of market ups and downs. And so we recommend that you be very specific and write down what your strategy is. Okay, so rule number 2, understanding risk. Risk and return, generally they go hand in hand. So the higher return potential you want, the more risk you'll have to accept. There are many types of investment risk, such as market, economic, interest rate risk, but risk goes beyond the potential for declines. So risk includes your comfort level with risk, how much risk you can take, and also how much risk you may need to take to reach your goals. So understanding your risk and how to address it can help you avoid what may be the biggest risk of all, which is not achieving your long-term goals. So that's rule number 2, is understanding your risk. Rule number 3, and I know many people have heard this, diversify for a solid foundation. So the foundation of your portfolio is what we call your asset allocation, your diversified mix of stocks, bonds, cash, international, and other investment asset classes. Diversification doesn't ensure a profit or protect against loss, but it can help smooth the ride, right? So it can provide a smoother ride over time by reducing the swings in value. So when one single investment or one asset class performs poorly, it's not a disappointment. It's just a disappointment. It's not a disaster, right? So that's what we mean when we say diversify for a solid foundation. Rule number 4, this is a tricky one, it's called stick with quality. So of all of the factors that you need to consider when you're talking about investing, we believe that quality is one of the most important. It's also one of the most overlooked, right? Since stocks have a larger price fluctuation than bond investments, quality is frequently measured by the steadiness of earnings and dividend growth over time. Since your total return is a combination of dividends and capital gains when we're talking about stocks. For bonds, one measure of quality is investment grade. So that's the credit rating, which indicates that the borrower has a good track record of making its promised interest and principal payments. Quality also means that these investments have the financial strength and track record over time that may help them overcome temporary challenges, right? So those are the things that happen like when the market goes down. So rule number 5, invest for the long term. This is key. One of the biggest mistakes investors make is trying to time the market, moving in and out because of short-term declines or the latest prediction. Unfortunately, what this does, it often results in getting in and out of the market at the wrong times, costing you not only time and money, but also potentially progress toward achieving your goals. We believe, again, the most consistent, successful investment strategy is to own a well-diversified portfolio of quality investments and to plan to own those investments for the long term. Okay, rule number 6, having realistic expectations. So what do I mean by that? Your expectations about how your investments will perform can have a big effect on your actual strategy. Your return expectations should be based on your asset allocation, your mix between stocks and bonds, the current market environment, and your investment time frame. So again, we believe setting realistic expectations can help you accurately track your progress and ultimately help you achieve your long-term goals. Rule number 7, maintain your balance. Rebalancing is a process of reallocating your investments to reduce areas where they are overweight and add to areas where they are underweight. So rebalancing can counter your emotions, and you may be selling asset classes that have performed well and adding to areas that have underperformed. By regularly rebalancing, you can ensure that your portfolio remains aligned with your objectives and your comfort with risk. We kind of go back to that, and helps take emotion out of investing decisions, right? This can help you remain on track to reach your long-term goals. Okay, rule number 8, prepare for the unexpected. And we're going to talk about some other things that are going to help you prepare in today's session. You cannot predict the future, but you can prepare for it. So regardless of where you are in life, there's some strategies that we recommend to help you and your family prepare for the unexpected. First, create an emergency fund. And I know some others are going to talk about that. This can provide your family a financial cushion if you lose your job or you incur some unexpected expenses. Think about your insurance options, right? Don't forget about having insurance in case something happens to you and your ability to earn an income in the future. Plan your estate. Regardless of how much money you have, an estate plan can help you communicate your wishes for your loved ones should something happen to you. All right, that's rule number 8. Prepare for the unexpected. Rule number 9, focus on what you can control. And if I were doing this in a full seminar, we have kind of this brain that shows you that there's so much going on that we do not have control over. So when you're investing, there are some things you can't control. The day-to-day fluctuations of the market, the economy, the political environment. The good news is you don't have to. That's not what you're trying to do. If your goals haven't changed, and the events don't change our long-term outlook, then there probably isn't a reason to change your strategy, right? Focus on the things that you can control, not what you can't control. Rule number 10, and this is sometimes often forgotten, is to go back and review your strategy on a regular basis. The one constant that you can expect is change. Right? Your goals will change over time. Your life will change over time. So it could be a new job, an addition to the family, retirement, something that's unexpected. Your strategy needs to adapt. And this is where it's so important for you to review your strategy, to go back to that step 1 and look at your strategy again to make sure that you're reviewing it and it's helping you stay on track, that you, again, understand what things you can control and not try to change your strategy just because things are not in your control. So I wanted to kind of keep that simple And I hope, I know we have time for question and answer later, but those are what we call the rules of the road. So thank you, Dr. Bester. I look forward to if there are any questions later.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Barber. I know that you guys found that as enlightening as I did. I know that also that many of you are here because you want to know where the money resides, right? So we want to try to help you to find out where the money resides. So let me do this. We have a little bit of time. So if any of you have some questions, if you would put them in the chat, we'll talk about those. But I want to ask all of our panelists who are here, if you will just help us to talk about, until we have another response, to talk about credit and managing debt, how important that is. Because most of us live on a budget, even if we don't have it written down. We have a certain amount of money that we receive in compensation for work, or whatever our source of income if we're on a fixed income, and we know that we have to live within that. It's a bit difficult sometimes, and so we have to be very protective of our credit, of our credit records. And we talk about credit scores. That used to not be a thing until recent years, right? But also we have to talk about how to be timely in paying our bills, and also how to shop for credit. That is something that people don't think about, Mr. Collins. They don't think about the fact that, if I'm used to borrowing money from my credit union, I may not think about going to a bank and asking them what their rate is for this kind of loan that I have. Or if I'm used to working with my bank, I may not think to go to my credit union to ask them. So Pam, is that something that you encounter in your daily work?
I do, and so I'll touch briefly, and hopefully we can get Ms. Gaines to chime in when she gets a chance. But just as you said, there's a couple things that we have to make sure. Again, we're managing, we're stewards over what we have, whatever that is. If I have a job and I'm earning, if I'm on a fixed income, whatever resource that we have, those that we have that are coming in, it's important that we take care of that, because those are the things that we take care of now that are going to help us later on, right? So managing your credit and making payments. I had my brother, when I was younger, one of the first things that he taught me was, because I'd made some mistakes, and in college, when they used to go to the table and they would pass out the credit cards here, I didn't understand because I didn't have this webinar. So first thing is, you don't need everyone that they're giving just because they're going to give you 30% off or 20% off if you do it today. But if you do get into that position where you're struggling with credit card debt, one of the simple things that you can do is every time that you get some money, you send them a little bit. They're not going to not take your money. It may not be everything that you need to give them, but if you send them something you're showing them that I want to honor this debt that I have created. I don't have enough, but I'm going to send you what I can. Those are some of the things that'll make a difference. When I was young, it was writing a check and putting it in the mail, but we can do things electronically now. So set yourself a schedule where, okay, I get paid every 2 weeks. I'm going to send everybody something every 2 weeks so that they know that I'm going to honor my debt and put a plan in place to start to try to resolve that.
And I think that's really good information, Pamela. One of the things that I always advise people to do is, if you've gotten into a little bit of credit card, in a bit of a credit card challenge, that's what I'll call it, then look at the credit cards, pay the one that has the highest rate first.
Yes.
Try to pay that one down because the other ones won't accrue interest as quickly as that one with the higher rate. Pay that one down and then cut it up.
Yeah.
Once you get it paid off, cut
Yeah.
it up because you don't want it to come back to bite you and you don't want it there as a temptation. And I see Mr. Collins, who is regional leader for Primerica over in Ponchatoula. He's nodding along. So why don't you chime in for us, Mr. Collins?
Yes, ma'am. That is so true. And that, just great job, Ms. Barber. Just listen to everything because all of this ties in with everything we do is going to cross lines. But actually valuing your credit because there are mistakes we may make at 18 to 21. And by the time you're 25, thinking you're getting it all together, it comes back to bite you. So that follows you, that bad credit will follow you for 7 years or more. So you need to understand that and not fall into that credit trap because like I say, you're getting ready to leave, you in college, they offer you these, now you're in college and they'll offer you credit cards without a job. So you'll get a credit card and you'll live on that credit card. And by the time you graduate thinking that, hey, I'm on my way, I'm getting ready to get this first good job, I want a house, I want to do things. And all of the things you've done come back to bite you. So we need to keep that in perspective.
It really does, Mr. Collins, because we talk about it, it's our credit. But when you go to borrow money to purchase a home or you go to borrow money to purchase a car, they check not just your credit, they check your credit history. Yes, and so the thing that you want to be able to do is to show that you've been a good steward over the limited resources, or if you're wealthy, over the resources that you have. It's about your not just, sometimes it's not just about the ability to pay, because some people have good salaries, but they don't necessarily manage the time to pay things on time, right?
Yes, ma'am. And that is so key because, when we look at things, me, for example, I've always loved having money, doing different things, and the light went off because I had a credit card, Sears, for example. I paid off a car in 4 years and I still have Sears. I'm young and I'm like, Lord, what's going on? See, I can't get rid of Sears. So then starting to understand the whole thing versus fixed rate versus revolving rate.
And how that rate rolls over. Like you think if you pay this $50 this month, that they're not going to charge any additional interest on that $50, but they're just going to charge you interest prospectively. But they roll it back somehow, charge you for that, and then charge you for what's been charged for this month and what the balance is on the account.
Yes, ma'am.
So we need to be very, very mindful of that. And here's the rule that we made at our house. Y'all, and listen, I know that everybody can't do this, okay? But try not to charge more on that credit card than you can pay off at the end of the month. Try it. I bet my credit card companies hate me. They make money off of the vendors and the businesses that I do business with because they charge them a fee, but they don't make any money off of me, Mr. Collins. I pay it off every month.
And that's an excellent strategy. And and the system wants you to have debt. It really does, because there are billions of dollars generated off of late payment fees, overdraft, balances. You move forward with the credit card. They are making billions of dollars.
And you have to shop even for your credit cards. You have to shop for them. Don't think that just because it's a Visa that every bank or every financial institution is charging the same rates. They're not. That's why you see all of those ads from the different banks and the different credit unions and people who have credit cards, because they're trying to compete with the other banks, because they know even if they get somebody like me who's going to pay that balance off at the end of the month, they make money because they charge those vendors and those businesses a fee. So they want to be the one that the card that everybody has, look at the cards that you already have. So if you have one from one of the big banks, they still will send you an application to get another credit card with them. Why?
Okay.
Because they think you're going to use it someplace, and that fee is going to be something that they are able to charge that vendor or that business.
Yes, and we must be careful when we register online for all the different free stuff that they tell you. It's not free.
None
Your
of it's
information
free.
is being sold. So now, if you can't avoid the temptation, now you start getting flooded in your mailbox, your inbox with all these credit card offers. Hey, all the different things, and you're not prepared. You don't have the discipline, to put them in the trash or shred them or whatever. So, now before you know it, you have 2 or 3 credit cards and you're drowning in debt.
And that's what Pamela was talking about earlier. See, as you get older, you can kind of learn some of that. But sometimes when we get a little bit older, it's not too late, but we have that debt that's following us, right? Because we got it. I remember when I went to the University of Southern Mississippi, at registration, they had every single bank had a table where they were enticing kids who had not been taught at home about credit cards. And those kids, I know some of my classmates had tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt in credit card debt. By the time we graduated undergrad, they had that credit card debt because it was so easy. All they knew was they could go and buy what they wanted, but they didn't realize that there was a time that they were going to have to pay. And as students, you don't have the money to pay. And then they're depending on your parents to pay it for you, right? Because the parents don't want their kids to get to have their credit ruined before they even get started. It's just it really is a vicious cycle. And I'm so proud of everybody who is on this call this morning as an attendee, because we want to give you the information that you need to be able to help your children not make bad decisions, and also to help you to course correct. If you're one of those persons who was not able to, if you're one of those persons who may have, sometimes it's because, just think about where we are right now in the middle of this COVID pandemic. People are not working the way that they once were. They've cut off the unemployment benefit that was the extra that was to help you, and you got to survive. If you have to use that credit card as a survival technique or a survival mechanism, there is nobody that's going to fault you for that. But you need to, like Pamela was saying earlier, no matter what you do, you pay something. Because that way they can't say you weren't trying. And then it may be something that allows you to have some forgiveness of some of that debt later on down the road. And you need to explore that. Not with any of these credit fixing companies, though. Y'all, I'm just trying to tell y'all where the money resides. Pamela.
And again, I was going to say, I apologize for Miss Gaines. She is trying to get in. She's hearing us. So she,
okay. This is good.
She has things that she wants to say. She's working on it. But that exact thing. So one of the things is that if you need help, right? Again, find someone that is willing to help you, that, like Dr. Bester just said, and that's one of the services that they offer with the Pelican. They're going to help you. And if you're in that position where you don't know where to turn, that's when you need to reach out to someone. That's when you need to, step back. And there are many people on here. That's not what I do, right? But as a financial advisor, it's my role to help educate you and connect you to other resources. Mr. Collins, the same thing. Maybe that's not exactly what he does, but can he help you? And so that's why we're here is to give you the tools, the information, the resources so that you can get yourself in a better financial situation, right? And that better financial situation, again, as God has given us to be stewards over what he has given us, whatever that is. And again, just because somebody's wealthy necessarily doesn't mean that they're in that best financial situation. And so it's not that, doesn't matter how much you have, it's how you manage what he has given you. So whatever that is, we want to make sure that we're doing the right things with that. And please, it's okay to say, I don't know what my next step should be. And that's when you reach out to someone. And when people come to my office and I say, I need to see, what your spending is, I need to see your budget. The most important thing that I say after that, there's no judgment here.
That's right.
I'm not here to judge you for the position that you're in. Many of you heard me say that when I went to college, I was one of those ones. And what you didn't mention was we also used to get phone cards, right? We didn't have cell phones, but we got phone cards. And again, I went to school away from home, so I needed to be able to call home. I didn't realize what that was, how all those charges were accumulating.
Pamela, see, we might have some young people in the audience. You got to explain what that phone card is, because see, they're just like, what are you talking about?
Right,
It's
well,
like that rotary dial phone we used to have in the house, right? So explain to them what that phone card is and the cost associated with that phone card.
Yeah. So I know we all have cell phones and plans now. Well, when we didn't have cell phones and we needed to make long distance phone calls, AT&T would charge us. But you could get a phone card, and it was like another credit card. But it was just for the phone. And so, when you first got it, you didn't know that, you were making that phone call to Florida and it was going to end up costing you $100. And you just kept using it. And then eventually they'd say you can't use it anymore because you haven't paid.
It would go onto your family's telephone bill, and your mom, who wanted to hear from you every day. This is when long distance was expensive, right?
It was very expensive.
It was very expensive, because I remember the first year after my husband and I got engaged, I was far away. And so making those phone calls, that was expensive. But here's the thing that I want to talk about for just a second, Pamela, about what you were saying about being able to write all of that down, right? Yes. With a budget. If you don't do anything else after you leave this seminar today, just write it down.
Right.
Write down how much money, not your gross income, what, if you make $100 and they're taking 25 out for taxes, write down 75. Write down the 75, and then write down all of your fixed costs,
necessary expenses.
The rent or the mortgage, the car, the insurance, the food, the utilities, all of those things. Write them down and look at what your expenses are compared to what your income is. Yeah. And we have to make adjustments, right? We have to make adjustments. And sometimes you can't go on that trip to Cancun. Y'all, go ahead, Mr.
You looking at my notes? Dr. Besser, you looking at my notes?
I'm just, and it's experience, right? Go ahead, Mr. Collins, because this is your forte. I'm just trying to give everybody the benefit, and also to let them know that this is something that we will help you with at VCPI at Southern University Law Center. If you're having those challenges and you don't know where to go next, come talk to us. We'll help you go through it, because guess what? We've been there. Mr. Collins, and I want to note that I want to note that Mr. Temple has joined us. And Mr. Temple, please feel free to chime in here. We're just giving some common sense questions and answers.
And I know Mr. Temple has great nuggets because I've gotten great nuggets from him. So, but that's the most basic thing we can do is establish a budget. Write it down. When you write it down, it stares back at you, and that's your truth. So when we put all the incoming and all the outgoing, and it doesn't match up, that tells you right there, red flags are going off. We need to make a change. Now, when that spreadsheet shows us, now that's that person looking in the mirror saying, what do I need to do from here? Because, and I'll tell people when we sit down and going over the budget, I don't need you to just write it down. I need you to have your last 90 days of your bank statement, because that bank statement is going to show every time you swipe that card, every time you went to the ATM and all those little charges that you forgot. So you're just writing down your bills. The bank statement shows me your habits. That's a difference.
That is a huge difference, Mr. Collins, because that is where you're actually looking at a diary of somebody's income and expenditures, right? You're actually looking at, and let me tell you, there's power in that, y'all. I want to give you guys a personal example because I know some of you can relate to this. We had our son when he was teenage. He really just thought that, he wasn't a spendthrift child. He wasn't a really demanding child, but he thought that when he needed something, he just wanted us to go get it, right? So what we did was we gave him a budget. We gave him an allowance. This is your allowance, and if whatever it is that you're wanting, you save up for it. If you don't have enough with your allowance, you save up for it, and once you have enough money, you purchase it. When he was 16, we got him a checking account because he was still home and we could manage it. We could help him and we could show him how to balance that checkbook every month. And when he was 18, we got him his first credit card with a credit limit that was attached to ours so we could monitor it. So we helped him to establish his credit, but we taught him good financial habits before we gave him a credit card. He knew how to manage that allowance. He knew that if he didn't have enough money in that allowance, that he was not going to be able to purchase whatever that thing was that he wanted that was outside of the birthday and Christmas, right? So we're teaching our children restraint because that's what it is. It's about being able to restrain yourselves and not need that instant gratification. But again, recognizing that emergencies do often happen. And when emergencies happen, you have to do what you have to do, but always having in mind, I'm going to get this straight when I get back on my feet.
That's key. That is so key because
go ahead.
Now with that foundation that you all laid for your son, trust me, he'll carry that with him forever because my parents did the same for me. So I always counted my money. We had the little Raggedy Ann and Andy banks that we saved our money in. And with all the festivals, different things coming up, I always knew what I wanted to do. So I'd always look, and I didn't like spending my money. So I learned early on, I know what I want to do. So I'm gonna put a little extra to the side for that. But it made a difference. Now, growing up, I was responsible because they laid the foundation early on. So when it came time for me, I'm in high school and I'm going to get my own clothes. My mom say, well, you're working. I'm going to buy some of your stuff and you buy some of your stuff. Say, I'll get the jeans and you get the shoes and everything else. So she's just still keeping me straight. Now, this is back in the day when they had DH Homes. Now, DH Homes was, before Dillard's and all of that. So my mom would give me the card and give me a spending limit. She said, because come time next month, we're going to pay it off. So she said, charge it up, we're going to pay it off. Well, my dad, now I'm going to dealers to buy Jabot jeans. Jabot jeans was $72 a pair, and that was a long, long time ago. My dad wore Rustlers. My dad saw the credit card bill and saw how much I paid for Jabot jeans, and you would have thought he was having a stroke. He said, you know how many pair of Rustlers I could buy for $72? I said, Daddy, they're not wearing Rustlers in high school. You know? So from that point on, I had to buy my own jeans. He said, no, we're going to switch this, and we're going to pay for the shirts and stuff, and you buy the jeans. I still bought the jeans because that's what I wanted. And then I bought him a couple pair, and he liked the jeans and everything. He wouldn't buy them, but he enjoyed wearing them.
It's so, but it's the difference is that he taught you, okay, you can get the Jabot jeans. It's going to take you a little bit longer to save up for the Jabots than it will for the Rustlers. Yeah, I know the Rustlers, but it's going to take you a little bit longer to pay for those. If you're doing that with your allowance or with the money that you're making from your part-time job, it's going to take a little bit longer. And so that's what we want to, I hope that we can get across to people, that it's about, we talk about being debt-free. Very few people are debt-free. We even talk about the national debt. That's a fiction, y'all. Anybody that's been to business school knows that even at your home, we talk about owning a home. It takes 15 to 30 years to own a home. So we can say we're buying a home. I'm just trying to tell y'all where the money resides. I see that there have been some comments in the chat, and that's really interesting. I haven't been able to read through them, but through all of them, but there's some very interesting ones there. But it's life experience and what you want. And I can tell you, some of the people on the call today are financial advisors, Pamela and Mr. Collins and Mr. Temple and Ms. Gaines, if she's able to get on with us. She's been having some technical difficulties, but here's what we wanted. We wanted to have people who have been through it, who understand it, and who can keep it real. As Pamela said, there's no judgment of people who come to us who have had financial challenges, and because those financial challenges they can build character if you try to course correct. You can put yourself into a perpetual cycle where it just goes on and on and on. And what happens, and it's the strangest thing to me, that the way that our system is set up, because when we talk about credit, someone who makes $100,000 a year and has, they're able to pay all of their bills on time, that person goes into the bank, they want to give them a 2.5% interest rate. But the person who makes $30,000 a year and they're suffering because they can't pay all of their bills on time, when they go in, they get a 25% interest rate. It's counterintuitive, isn't it, Pamela?
Sorry, it is. And again, like you said, it's a cycle, right? So unfortunately, to get out, to go and borrow, maybe to consolidate or something, it's going to cost you more.
Tell them about what consolidation means, because
yes.
You can't use those words.
I apologize. So if you're in a position where you have multiple debts with multiple debtors, and you want to try to put them all into one, maybe get a personal loan to pay off everything, to kind of do a reset. Unfortunately, if you have a low credit score and you go and try to do that, your interest may be higher. And that's what Dr. Bester was saying. And that's why you need to shop, right? And get the help that you need, because often when you have to be careful about applying for multiple credit at the same time. Those are things that hurt your credit. But if consolidation is the right thing for you, you need to make sure that you do get the right help. And as part of that process, you're going back and saying, okay, well, I've done a consolidation, but I'm not going to go back and run up all those credit cards again, right? And so you can use that as a reset if that's appropriate for you. But you have to be careful. And that's, again, what we're trying to say here is you don't have to go it alone. There are people out here that can help you without judgment, right? That want to help you get into a better position. And just like we're talking about with the investments, it's not a quick fix, right? We're not going to, have this high debt and then 2 months later it's all fixed. No, it's a strategy. We're going to put a plan in place. Mr. Collins is going to talk about how we write these things down. It's so important. We use our phones and things, but go through the process of writing it down. I tell people that you're putting a mirror, somebody wrote that in the chat. It's enlightening to see. And maybe you may have opportunities in some of those necessary expenses to say, you know what, I need to call Cox, or I need to, there's something that I need to do. Maybe I haven't looked at my insurance, my homeowner's insurance lately. Maybe I'm, and so there are things that you can do to look at your current budget and see if there are opportunities to reduce some of those things to help put you in a better position. So, again, and I know we're running out of time, we need to go to our next session, but it's so important for you to put a plan in place. That's what we're trying to help you do. And part of that plan is going to start with writing things down. I call it as simple as it is. What's coming in and what's going out. You need to know. And if it's all on your phone and you don't really ever stop and take a look at it, then you won't see it. So sometimes you have to go through that process of writing. And if people need a budget sheet, then I'm sure just about everybody on here, the panelists can provide you with something. But if you don't have a budget sheet, get out a notebook and write it down.
Just write it down. Y'all, we are completely out of time for block one. I want to thank you, Pamela, because you really did get in there and give some really good information to our attendees this morning. Mr. Collins, thank you so much for arriving early and for pitching in to help. The thing that we want you to leave here with today is that wherever you are, you can course correct if you're having, if you're in a little bit deeper than you want. And also, if you have resources, we want you to maximize those resources. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that Pamela mentioned. Sometimes you can just call up your credit card company. If you have a good history with them,
I know we lost Dr. Bester for a minute, but I was just going to finish her statement. If we have a good history, they may reduce your interest.
I froze up. I don't know what happened.
If you have a good history,
look, they will.
They will. They will.
They will. Mm-hmm. And so the time for course correcting, and sometimes even after you've gotten into trouble, if you were a good customer before, you can call and let them know that you've gotten into a little bit of trouble. Ask them if they can reduce that rate. Ask them if they can. Sometimes they'll change the date that you need to pay so that it coincides with your pay dates. But as the older people in the neighborhood when I was growing up used to say, nothing beats a failure but a try. And the Bible puts it a little bit different. It says you have not because you ask not. So we have a 5-minute break. We're going to allow you guys to have a break, and we will be back at exactly 10:30. All right, welcome back, everybody. Y'all ready to go? We're going to go to our next block, where we're going to be talking about more about developing and managing a budget. Mr. Collins is going to talk to us about that. And then Mr. Temple is going to talk with us about creating multiple streams of income. So not just that paycheck, but there are other streams of income that might be available to us. So let's go. Mr. Collins, you ready?
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Let's go. Tell them where the money resides.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, just thanks for having me on. This has been great so far. I've been enjoying everyone with this, especially with the round robin input and everything, because we all have different experiences and never know where that experience may help someone else. But with me, just starting with a budget. A budget is the most basic thing you can do, but it's the best thing you could do. We plan our lives. Think about this. We'll plan a wedding, a dream vacation, do all of these things. We'll plan months in advance, a year in advance, but we won't sit down for an hour or two to put our budget together. And that's how we're gonna make all of that happen. It blows my mind. I have all these plans, but I don't have a written budget to tell me that I can actually do those things. So that's how we get in trouble. Even on the highway, it has a speed limit, so you know how fast you can go. But we don't set that money limit to know exactly how far we could go or what we could do with our lives. So when you want to, start setting up a budget, and like I said earlier, it's not enough just to write down your bills and write down everything that's coming in. You need that bank account statement at least for a 90-day cycle, so you could actually see your habits. Because we don't remember that little swipe at Starbucks, that $4 or $5 you're spending every morning. We don't realize what that does to your budget. So just simple things like that. I'm retired military. I know if I was out in the woods and I used my compass and I was 1 degree off, I would never hit my target. I'd never make it to my destination, because over a mile, that 1 degree would take me somewhere totally different. So if we don't have our budget set, knowing the parameters in which we could operate, you'd never hit the mark. So in order to know where you're going, you have to first know the starting point. So I want to just share a few things with you. Let me share my screen. Okay, share screen. Okay, now, so here's the things that you can do. You can get out of debt, you can build a savings, and you can get on the path of financial independence. All of those things sound great, but, and there is a but, in order for you to do that, you must first have a budget. So the budget is the actual beginning to know exactly where you're starting from. So we look at everything that's coming in, everything that's going out. We look at, our, not just our monthly expenses that you may pay every 6 months, license that you may have to renew every year. All of that needs to be a part of your budget. So if there's something that needs to be paid a year from now, well, instead of it hitting my budget hard on the day that it's due, I could save a few dollars every month and not really have it affecting my budget. So setting up the budget, you can get out of debt, you can build savings, and you can be on your way to financial independence. Because what you have to do, you have to take control. Now, if you notice on this screen, there's a hand with strings on it. And if you see that shadow, you become a puppet to debt. You don't even dance to your own tune anymore when your spending is out of control. The bill collectors, they tend to control you. So now you pay them first and you work with what you're left with. So now if there's too much month at the end of the money, I don't have anything for me. That's the wrong answer, because you're working hard for your money, but your money's not working hard for you. So we kind of have the cart before the horse, and we need to put things back in order. So how do we do that? We got to take control. Now, these are 7 things that you can put in order, and they will work every time, but you must keep them in order. So the first thing you need to do, understand that you're working for this money. So create a bill. You become a bill, and you're not going to allow you to be turned off. So, instead of you becoming a bill, instead of you just sending all your money to them, you become a bill and pay yourself first. Just a little something, but you have to start somewhere. Pay yourself first. You're not going to let your cell phone bill get turned off. So why are you allowing you to be turned off? You have to be the priority. So now let's adjust our priorities. Is it a need or is it a want? Do we have to have certain things? So we have to adjust those and understand, if I'm sacrificing, it may just be for a period of time until I get where I need to go. So you need to adjust your priorities. Now, notice that's in red, because adjusting your priorities, because our lifestyle, and that's a little further down, but if we adjust our priorities, now we keep the main thing. And no matter what comes up, friends say, hey, let's do this here. Hey, that's not a priority. I have my priorities. So we need to change our thinking about how we view money. Money is currency, but if you use it properly, it's going to keep you current. So you want that to continue to flow. So we think about money, think about what it's used for and its purpose, not just for our gratification, but actually how we're going to live, how we're going to move forward in the future. And at some point, you want to have a plan where the money you're putting away early on, because of your budget, it meets you somewhere down the line, and you all have a glorious time because that money has been put to work and it's done some great things for you. Adjusting your lifestyle, just temporary. It won't be forever. But in order to have something that you've never had before, you have to do some things you've never done before. Because if you keep doing what everyone else is doing, you're going to keep getting what everyone else is getting. So we have to think about that. Now, early on, I saw a lot of my friends, they're in school, people going out, doing different things, but I know they were always broke, and we'd have to wait for payday or something in order to do something. I never wanted to live like that. So I had to have an honest conversation with myself saying, okay, I need to adjust my priorities and get it together. So when we look at that, now, if you're not earning enough, you could look for ways to earn additional income, maybe a part-time job, something to help you once you realize that additional income may be a way to get you out of it. Additional income doesn't mean, okay, well, now I got this additional income, I can do additional things. Remember the purpose, adjusting your priorities, making sure you can get out of debt by establishing your budget. Avoid the credit trap, as we were talking earlier. I had them paid off a car in three years and still had Sears. And I'm wondering what's going on with that. But then I had to realize that, that fixed rate of credit versus a revolving rate. And Dr. Bester touched on that. We have to know the importance of that. So we avoid the credit trap and things that we do from 18 to 21 or 22 when we're in school, and we get out of school, and now we're ready to go on, get this job, get this house, or do different things. And now that bad credit comes back to haunt you, because when it comes to, the banks and different ones, they're in business to make money. So all of your bad habits will cost you something. So we need to avoid the credit trap. And the budget, it still goes back to setting goals and having a plan. What is your plan? You don't just jump in the car and hit the highway without a plan. I need to know, where am I going? I know my starting point. So you need to know exactly where you're starting from, So now knowing where I'm starting from, it gives me an idea of exactly of what I need to do to get everything in order and to move forward. And I promise you, if you do these things, things will line up, and it'll be less stress, less worry. Stress is a killer. And don't bury your head in the sand if you're not where you need to be. Reach out for help. Like Ms. Pam was saying, there's no judgment. We need to correct some things. We're here to help. So you got to look at it, and I'll wrap up with this here. There's a different cycle. You got two cycles you live in, and when we look at it, most people live in we call it a debt cycle, where your life revolves around debt. When we look at the debt cycle, we're looking at your finances are controlling you. You got outspending your income, borrowing to maintain a lifestyle, paying off one debt and then getting another. That's a debt cycle. And if we don't get out of the debt cycle, it's that revolving door, or we say that dog that's chasing its tail but never catches it. And if you don't do it, guess what? You'll pass these bad habits right down to your children. And now it's from one generation to the next. At some point, the buck has to stop with you. And that's what we're here to help with. Thank you, Dr. Best.
Thank you so much, Mr. Collins. Please leave your share screen up, because I think that's really, really important, right? Pay yourself first, y'all. After you've worked 40 hours a week, you deserve at least a milkshake, right? You have to do something to feel like you are rewarding yourself for the hard work that you put in. But y'all, you have to be reasonable. You have to know where, you have to know what your budget is, and you have to know how much you can expend, right? So get the milkshake and put off the trip to Cancun for a couple of months, for maybe a couple of years, because it's a time for saving up. Adjust your priorities. Milkshake, Cancun. Adjust your priorities, and change your thinking. Because what that means, and I know that Mr. Collins will help me to understand it and help me to explain it better. But when I see that change your thinking, it's about the long term as opposed to the short term. Yes, I want to go to Cancun, but can I go right now? No, as they used to say, my money may be a little funny right now, right? And I can't go to Cancun right now. But in a year, after I've saved, what extra money that I have, I may be able to go to Cancun. But don't go and put a whole lot of money on your credit card to take a trip with some people that you like. But let me tell you, at the end of the day, those people are your friends, but they're not going to help you pay off that credit card. They're not going to do it. No, so, Ms. Taryn, I think that there were a couple of questions that may have been put in the chat. So can you give us those? I didn't see in the Q&A. It happens, and it's fine that it was put in the chat. So you got something in the chat?
I sure do. So this question says, if you have saved your money well, and you have invested in a 401k and a Roth IRA to the max, and if you have additional funds, what are other options that can be done with that money? And this question had additional context in that the only debt was mortgage. And so the question again is, if you've saved your money well, you have a 401k and a Roth IRA, and you've invested that to the max, and you have additional funds, what are other options that can be done with that money?
I think that's a Darren and Pam question.
And a Mr. Temple question as well.
And a Mr. Temple question. He'll be joining us in just a little bit.
Well, I would say if you have those things maxed out and the only debt you have is your mortgage, let's get rid of the mortgage.
Hey, that's a real
Because
thing.
let's get rid of the mortgage, because if we can get rid of the mortgage earlier, now that saves me even more interest. So now I'm saving money. So now think about it. I accelerate my mortgage. Now the mortgage paid off. Not only do I have the extra money that I had before, now I have a mortgage payment as well. Now you can be maxing out your Roth, you can be maxing out your 401k, but let me tell you, you'll never have too much money. Never.
That is really good information. So here's something. If you and Pam, I see you. I'm gonna bring you in. Okay, so if you go to the bank right now and you put your money in a savings account, you look at Darren. You don't see Darren's face right now, right? So you may get 0.3%, and that's lucky. You're getting 0.3%, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But
Lucky.
but look, if your mortgage rate is 3.5%, if you pay that mortgage off early, you are earning 3.5% annually. So you've just tenfold increased the return on your money. Does
Yes,
that
ma'am.
make sense to anybody?
Perfectly good sense. And trust me, there are other places to put your money, but we want to get rid of the mortgage first. There are other places, but no, you do still have some debt. Let's get rid of the mortgage first.
I love that information. Miss Pamela?
That was what I was going to say with Mr. Collins. There are absolutely other things that you can do, but everybody has their own strategies. So you want to make sure and commend that person for already maximizing the 401k and the Roth IRA. Those are great tools to put you in a better place in your future, right? So again, you want to sit down with someone and put a plan in place. The plan that, that we understand what's important to you. And so we put a plan in place so that we can use that extra money for your goals. So, we may start by doing that, like you said, let's get that mortgage down. Let's accelerate that. Let's use that plan to make four payments on that mortgage a month so we can get it down. So, you want to sit down with somebody. That's the opportunity to start putting an actual financial plan in place, because we know that there are people that have extra money and it's not all in IRAs and 401ks.
Okay. Saba, I saw another question that happened to be in the chat. Y'all can you get that one for me, Miss Saba?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you turn your camera on?
Yes,
there
ma'am.
You are. Okay.
So we have a question asking, can you talk about the amount of how much money you would need to have in order to start investing? A lot of people think that it takes a lot to begin, but not necessarily so.
Pamela, can you take that one?
Sorry. Yes, I sure can. And absolutely, you can start wherever you are. That's the important thing that people don't realize. People think, oh, you need $100,000 just to start investing. No, you can start where you are, but there are multiple tools to start investing now. Again, they have apps and things like that. But with me, I don't have a minimum amount to get started. So if you're starting with $25 and, it depends on where you are, maybe we're just starting with saving so that we can get you there. Maybe we got to start by preparing for that unexpected first before we start investing, right? So we got to look at the situation so that, we're not in debt, in huge debt, and starting to invest, right? Because that money should be going to pay down some debt. So we can start wherever you are. The most important thing is that we put a plan, right? We write it down and we know what's going to work for that situation.
And the
Mr.
good
Collins, I
thing,
see you
Darren,
nodding.
did you want to add something, Darren?
Yes, ma'am. Just to piggyback on what you were saying, because one size does not fit all. It's a case-by-case basis. When we talk about even financial independence, financial freedom, that looks different to everyone. Someone may need $2,000 a month to be okay, or someone else, they may need $10,000 a month. So it's, the plans are designed uniquely for the individual. So it's a case-by-case basis. But that's the key, though, sitting down and getting a plan.
That is such good information. The thing that you want to, I love that Darren said, pay off the mortgage first, pay off the debts first. That's your investment, right? That's where you'll save lots and lots of money. And how do you save it? Not just by what you've purchased and what, your principal is. If you have a credit card that's at 18% interest, that is an astronomical amount of money that keeps accumulating each month on a revolving credit card, right? And some people have credit cards that are up to as high as 29%. That's a lot of money. That's $29 for every dollar. That's a lot of money. So, the other thing that both Pamela and Darren made the point of saying is, you want to evaluate your risk. You do not want to take, okay. So we talked about the credit card, we talked about the bank account and putting money into the savings account. The one thing that you know about the savings account, if it is a federally insured bank, when you go back, if you put $100 in there, it's going to be there when you get back. Pamela, do you want to take this part and tell them about?
And I said it before. When you make an investment, investments come with risk.
That's
right. It comes with risk, and so that's one of the rules of the road is you have to understand and evaluate the risk that you are willing to accept, right? And so again, the higher the risk, the higher the reward, but it can also go down. So when we're actually investing, we're not investing the money that we need to pay our bills next month. That's not the money that you can invest. You can't invest that money. So you have to assess your risk. And that's why we got to start with your budget so you know what's available. If you don't have anything available yet, then we need to go back and revisit the budget. That's where we need to start before we start investing. It's huge, and that's again where some people make mistakes. Oh, I'm gonna make this investment so I can get rich so I can pay off all my debt.
Yeah. So the point is, just in lay terms, if it is dollars that you can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping it real.
Yes.
If it's dollars that you cannot afford to lose, it's money that you cannot afford to put into the market because it could be lost. And okay, so I'm going to make a confession right here, Pamela. When I was in grad school and I was getting my MBA, I messed the finance class up for everybody. Darren, I just messed it up. I kept asking them to explain it to me. What makes the stock market volatile? What makes it change? What makes the bottom fall out? What makes what makes it a market where I'm about to make a lot of money if I get in at the right time? And I have to admit that I went all the way through my MBA program and ain't nobody explained that to me yet, y'all. I'm just trying to tell you where the money resides. I messed that class up for everybody because the professor would say something and I would say, well, why? I think he wanted to put me out, but he kind of liked me being in there. But anyway, it's a tough thing to do, but it's about balance. It's about planning. It's about knowing what you have and doing it for the long haul. So if you're in your 60s, now is not the time to take a lot of risk with, investing in the market for something that is for your retirement, right? So if you're already 65, you might want to look at something that has a bit less risk. But if you're 25, you can take a longer view of it. Am I right, Darren?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, you 25, the sky's the limit. You don't care about the market going down. You want the bottom to fall out so you can put more money in.
See, it's about the long run, but it's not too late for someone who's 65.
Oh, no, ma'am.
To go and sit down with someone like Pamela or Darren and talk about what is a safe investment for you. There may be something as an IRA or something that's not as volatile. It may be something that is a money market kind. I don't know. Y'all say what the things are, but I just want you to know it's never too late.
And we have to look at things because now especially depends on, your thinking, because people are like, no, I'm going to put all my money in the bank because I want to keep it safe. You put your money in the bank in your emergency fund for a rainy day. You invest to get ahead. You don't save to get ahead. You invest to get ahead. There's a difference. If you're going to put your money in the bank for a rainy day, I told a young lady the other day, you might well put it in a coffee can or put it under your mattress, okay? If you look at the interest rates right now, what the banks are paying, put it under your mattress. I can put $250,000 in the FDIC insured. I say, okay, with the way the economy is going and all the stuff the government's doing with these trillions of dollars they passing, let me tell you something. FDIC, yeah, your money's FDIC insured, but they have up to 99 years to repay you your money. We need to know these things.
Yes.
99 years. So got to think about that.
Everything that glitters is not gold, right? So y'all, I am so grateful for what you guys have shared. I do see that there's another question in the chat. So Saba, can you get that one for me?
Yes, ma'am. The question is, can you elaborate on options for investing for children's education?
Darren, you want to take that one?
Yes, ma'am. When it comes to the kids' education, you have the 529. Well, right now we offer the 529. We offer the Coverdale. So you have the different state plans. But one thing we also have is we call it it's an UTMA account, United Gift Account for Minors, where let's say the parent and the child goes on the account, and what happens is the parent is not the only one who has to fund it. You can have the grandparents, aunts and uncles for birthdays and stuff, send money, do different things. But the difference is it doesn't have to just, it doesn't have to be used just for education. So let's say, but by the time the child becomes, majority of age, and that varies from state to state. Some states 18, some states 21, or it may be 25. The actual parent name comes off and the child gets the money. So it just looks at different things. So then if you have a child that didn't go to college or didn't go to college, if it's just for an education fund, now you have to pass it on to the next child.
That's good information. So if it's a 529 plan, it has to be used solely for education.
Yes, ma'am.
And if it's invested there and the child does not go to college,
you can pass it on to the next child.
You can pass it on to the next child. But if you just got one child.
I got a question. I'm so sorry. I'm so late. I double booked this thing.
Come on, CT.
Can I jump in right now?
Jump in.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me put my face on and jump on in. First of all, you all, it is a huge honor to be able to do this. Darren, I'm so excited I was so excited to see you being on here as well. I'm not going to take a lot of time because I know we don't have a lot of time. but I would like to cover a couple of things. And if I can share my screen, is that going to be okay, Ms. Elfrida?
Yes, go ahead, share your screen.
Okay. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to show you all this information right here that really is so think about this, you all. When it comes, it is a thought process, and Darren hit some of this stuff already just from a different perspective. But the bottom line is this, y'all: when we get our money, most folks, and I do need a little bit of feedback from you all, okay? But when we get our money, for the most part, what do people do with it? Other than spend it, the ones that are actually trying to do something with it positive, what do they do with it, you all?
Put it in the bank.
They put it in the bank. They put it in the bank, and they get 0 to 1%. Literally, that's what they get: 0 to 1%. On average, the banks average about 0.4 to 0.5% return. But the bank takes it and goes and reinvests it in the global economy. What's the global economy? We're going to talk about that. But they go do that, right? That's what they do. What you want to do in creating multiple streams, starting out, you got to get your money working as hard for you as you work for it, or harder for you than you work for it, right? You got to get your money working for you to get the whole start of a conversation in terms of multiple streams, right? See, one thing I want you to understand, if you don't understand this, right? The rule of 72. And I know that, Darren, I don't know if you got the chance to really cover this. I know you talked about a couple of different things, but getting your money to work for you. Now, I just told you that the bank averages less than 1%. One goes into 72 times. What you take is the percent return on your money, you divide it by 72, and it will tell you the approximate number of years it takes for your money to double. If we went at 6%, y'all, every 12 years, the money doubles. If we went at 12%, y'all, check it out. 12 goes into 72 6 times. And then folks say, well, Kos, where am I? It's $2.5 million. It's the same $10,000. It's the same 48 years. You literally, though, I mean, there's not, see, the thought is when I go from 3 to 6%, my money's going to double. It obviously quadrupled. I don't even know what you call what happened from 6 to 12%. But watch this. The bank is paying you less than 1, but they're making 8, 10, 12, 15 on your credit card, 25. I just want to make sure I know I'm running and I'm running kind of fast, but can y'all hear me? Because on my iPad, I cannot see you. I can't physically see you. I just want, okay,
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, so
good.
you won't be able to, you'll only be able to see those of us who are presenters.
But
okay,
on an iPad, I can't even see you all.
Okay.
Because when I share my screen, but that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that yeah. So this is the deal, you all. Check it out. You say, well, where are you getting 12% from? Because this looks good, but where are you getting that from, Kyle? Well, first of all, inflation is 2.5%. Now think about what I just said. The average bank's going to average slightly over 0.5%. That means that inflation, people talk about a cost of living increase. I got a 3% cost of living increase. You got to get that just to stay even. So how you going to create multiple streams of income if your main income is not even keeping up with your ability to live? S&P 500, Standard & Poor's, rates the top 500 companies in the United States. It's a rating agency. Over the last 30 years, it's averaged 10%. Guess what, y'all? It's averaged 10% since 1924 to right now. That's what it's averaged. So well, I didn't know that. I understand what's my Walmart, Walt Disney, Exxon, Dow, Johnson & Johnson. It's the top 500 companies. It's averaged 10% for almost 100 years. Remember, even if you didn't know it, doesn't mean that it's not the case. Does that make sense, you all? But most people
I think
don't
that
have.
Mr. Temple just told y'all where the money resides.
That's right. That is right. That is right. Guys, understand, just because you don't know it doesn't mean it's not the case. Because you got to think about, where did you get your knowledge and information from? They might be amazing people, phenomenal parents, phenomenal aunts and uncles, right? Great, great in their spiritual walk. We do realize that none of that means that they have any knowledge, understanding, or expertise in the area of finance. And so that doesn't mean that they are qualified to give us advice about that. And that doesn't mean we're being disrespectful. That just means we're being intelligent. Tell me about what you have done a phenomenal job at. Y'all been married for 40 years. Great. Let's talk about that. Tell me how I can be in better. I'm getting on a roll. I don't want to get too excited here. Okay. So think about this. It may not be, and people got to realize that most people, the mass majority, 90+ percent, don't have $100,000, $10,000, $300,000 like most of these investment companies are looking for. If you don't have $250,000, the mass majority, 9 out of 10 investment companies are not really wanting your business. Let me say it again. If you don't have $250,000 of investable assets, money that you can go do something with right now, they really would rather you not come to talk to them. 50,000 is not enough. 20,000 is not enough. 100,000 in many cases is not enough. They expect more. Most people don't have that. So they don't get that access. They don't get that information. They don't get that knowledge. And remember, y'all, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So, but most people do waste $7 a day. $7 a day is $200 a month. $200 a month during a person's working career at 3% is $162. At 11%, it's $1,200,000. $7 a day, $1.2 million. If they put it in what you call an ROTH, Roth IRA, if their income is below a certain point, like $110,000 if they're single, $180,000 if they're married, that money is all tax-free. That's one person doing it. If a husband and a wife did it, that's $1,200,000. The max that one person can put in a Roth IRA is $6,000 a year, depending on their age. If they're over 50, they can put more. Say, well, this ain't talking about multiple streams of income. I'm gonna get to that. I just wanted to give you all some insight because we help people invest money in mutual funds. Okay, mutual funds can help accelerate the growth. That's where that 8, 9, 10, 12, 15% return can come from to turn something into what you can create an income from at retirement. Let's say you never want to be an entrepreneur and build a business. And I don't mean a self-employed person that always has to do it. I mean somebody who builds a business that even when they're not there, it makes money. You can get your money to the point where it makes money and it creates a check for you for the rest of your life through growth. See, what a mutual fund does is a mutual fund takes individual investors, people like you all and us and me, and they say, okay, we're going to let a professional money manager watch over this money, right? We're going to allow a professional money manager to do this. And bottom line, guys, is you can put yourself in a position. Now, I'm not going to go through the life insurance. It's extremely important. You got to do it. We talked about it already. It's very important. You need to be doing this first because you got to protect. If he dies, their income goes. You got to make sure, and you got to get the right type. We can talk about that at another point, but it's very, very important, guys. Understand how important it is to have the right type of life insurance to get the amount you need for the price. Yes, there's not a typo on the right side. That is $800,000 of coverage between a family for under $100 a month. And we're not talking about a 10-year term or a 5-year term. We're talking about a term that is relevant to their age, to their situation, which in most cases for folks that are in their 40s, 30s, for sure 20s, we're talking about 20, 30, 35-year terms, right? You got to think about reality. Reality is most folks have kids, a little bit of debt, they got a mortgage like we talked about. They don't have 300, 400, 500,000 cash. That's why they need insurance. So a loss won't be devastating. But if we put in place an overall plan, like Mr. Collins was talking about, over 10 to 30 years, they'll accumulate money. The kids grown, debt paid, mortgage paid, they won't need as many. They won't need as much life insurance. They might want to keep it just because, and they could, but the bottom line is our goal is to give them choices. Y'all, ultimately, we got to protect people from dying too soon and leaving their family devastated, retiring, living a long time, running out of money. That goes to a couple of different things. When we're creating multiple streams, you all, first you got to set up your river. What's going to generate your primary income? Maybe it's a job. For most people, that's probably what it ends up being. But that's the primary income for a period, right? But then based on but you got to base your lifestyle on that primary income. It was kind of already mentioned in terms of creating the budget. And you want to save, invest, and accumulate money in other avenues. Now, you all, I'm telling you this because I was asked to speak about this, but I have a primary income of, and guys, this is the other thing. If you do this last thing, save, invest, and accumulate, when opportunities present themselves, significant opportunities, because under normal circumstances, y'all, it takes money to make money. Under the mass majority of normal circumstances, it takes money to make money. But if you're in a position where you have it, when the opportunity presents itself, you can't take advantage of it. See,
Hollis, thank you so much. You got a couple of minutes.
Okay, let me just do 2 minutes. I literally have one more slide and I'm done. So secondarily, guys, we got to find streams that won't interfere with your river. So we're talking about multiple streams of income, but unless we believe it's possible, I mean, unless you believe the possibility of the stream can be bigger than the river and you are willing to do the work for that, this is a book, you all, that you could get that goes in a lot more depth than we have time to go through. ABCs of making money. And if you're looking for business to get involved in, business needs to do these 15 things. Sales to the masses, fulfill a fundamental need for many people, be low risk, provide the opportunity for ongoing passive income, require a low staff. I mean, these are the it's actually 15 points that I don't know why the 15th one ain't on the slide. It must have went off. But the last one is to create other opportunities to create multiple sources of income. So my point is, you all, that there are amazing opportunities out there. But the reality is you've got to put yourself in position to be able to take advantage of them when they present themselves. And that's only going to happen based on you being liquid enough. And that will only happen based on you making, saving, investing money, getting your money to work for you, and having a mentality of growth and abundance. So sorry about being a little late. Sorry about going a little long. I'm going to throw it back to you, Mrs. Besta.
Excellent, Collis. Thank you so much. You came in right at the right time. I always say God doesn't make any mistakes, that there's purpose in everything that happens. I have thoroughly enjoyed this today. I know that our participants have enjoyed it. They've been really active with us and asking lots of questions. And I do want to just emphasize something that you just said, Collis, about insurance. Insurance is really important, y'all. Can I keep it real with y'all for just 1 minute? We're
Yes,
gonna go
ma'am.
back to where the money resides. GoFundMe is not a funeral policy.
That's right.
Y'all, this ain't no judgment, but GoFundMe is not a payment for a person's funeral. We have to plan for that. Life insurance is critical for that. So if nothing else, if you don't have anything else, because
right.
finances are limited. I understand that. A $10,000 life insurance policy will generally pay for a funeral. It's going up and up and up, but it'll generally pay for a funeral and not put a family in a financial bind. And can I tell you that now many of the funeral homes will not touch a family's body until that money is paid. And they will not touch it. And
guys,
so,
Frida, let me just, I got to do that because Darren knows what I'm about to say from a life insurance perspective. It's really what we call the dime, all right? DIME. How much do I owe in debt? Do I want to leave that as a burden on my family? Okay, let's make sure I got enough place to knock that out. How much from an income perspective needs to keep coming in? It probably don't need to be my income because I won't be here. I'm paying the debt off. I'm probably going to pay the M, which is mortgage, off. So they got a place to stay and won't ever get kicked out. And I might even pay for the E, which is education, DIME, the dime, right? And so, guys, let's be honest. You're going to go buy new shoes for the school, for the kids for school. They're going to cost $90 to $100. You could take that $100 and make sure that if something happened to you tomorrow, your family is completely taken care of. Let's be honest. What's more important, right?
It's the long term, isn't it, Collis?
Completely.
It's the long term. So now, okay, you need the life insurance. You ideally need it to be able to take care of the dime that Collis just talked about. But the last thing that you want to do is to add to the financial and emotional burden that your family has to suffer when there's a loss of family members. And it happens in every family. Don't think it's just unique to anyone. It happens in every family. But there are other insurances that you need as well. So whether that life insurance is going to be, term life, or whether it's whole life, or whether it's an annuity, whatever it is, we need to make sure that we have that. But there's another one that is just as important, if not more important, and that is disability insurance. You need it because disability insurance pays if you're unable to work. Sometimes there's an illness or an injury that renders you unable to work. You can't get unemployment compensation if you lose your work and you're unable to work. You can't get workers' comp because unless it's a work-related injury, right? But sometimes it's an illness that keeps you from being able to work, and you need a disability insurance policy for that. And did I, Darren, is that good information?
Yes,
Pam?
ma'am. But just to piggyback on what you and Mr. Temple were saying, also we need to think about it when people say I'm good because I have insurance through my job.
Oh, God.
Darren.
That's
a word right there. That's a word.
You don't own that. And it tells you in the little certificate they give you from the company, we could change this, drop this at any time, and now you're not covered, or it's a full-time benefit. And chances are when, you don't just leave your job and die, you get sick, now you're not full-time, and now you've passed away, your family's going through, dealing with the stress of your death, and the job says, oh, that was a full-time benefit. They weren't in a full-time capacity.
And with you bringing that up, Darren, we could go all the way back to the health insurance too, right? Because most working people's health insurance is tied to their job. Most. And we saw what happens with that in this pandemic. A person loses their job, they lose their insurance unless they have the ability to take up the COBRA benefits, right?
Right.
They lose it. And so so not only is there a possibility of your becoming ill, there's a possibility of your becoming ill and not having insurance. So that's something that we have to work on from a policy perspective. And there's lots of discussion about that at the national level. The only thing I hate about this is that we didn't have more time. So I want all of our presenters today to please take the opportunity to put information in the chat so that our participants know how to reach you. Pamela, Darren, Collis, I think I saw yours already. And Dr. Bell, will you put ours in there for VCPI to let everyone know how they can reach us, or Taryn, if you guys can put our email address and our phone number in the chat so that everybody knows how to reach us. If y'all can't reach us on our, y'all can reach us on that. And so does anybody
Thank y'all for having me.
Oh gosh, it was our absolute pleasure. Dr. Bird.
Yes, ma'am.
There she is.
Yes.
You have to tell us if we missed something. I want to tell you right now, Southern University Law Center and the National Congress of Black Women promise that we will do more of this. This is just our premier opportunity to get together with you and bring you some information that we hope that you can use, but it is by far not our last opportunity. And I want to now turn this over to Dr. Bird for some comments. And let me first personally thank everybody who presented here today. Let me thank especially Dr. Bird and Pamela Barber and Carrie Monks, who were instrumental in putting this together. I want to thank the VCPI staff, Dr. Fletcher Bell, Dr. Tieran Branson, Saba Nagatu, and Ms. Courtney Jones, who has been our producer here today and who has handled this like a pro. So thank you all so very much. And don't let me forget to especially thank Ms. Jasmine Hunter, who was absolutely phenomenal in helping us put this together on this webinar. So thank you all so very much. Dr. Bird.
I definitely echo what you've shared, Dr. Bester, as far as gratitude and thanksgiving to everyone that have participated on this platform. I promise you, I have been thoroughly blessed by all of the information, and I'm sure that all of our participants have kind of shared in that same sentiment. I'm so grateful and thankful to Chancellor Pierre, even in his absence, and the Southern University Law Center, Dr. Bester and her staff, for agreeing to collaborate to bring this information to our community. It is our vision as an organization, especially the National Congress of Black Women, that we bring this type of information to the community. And so this is actually the first of many. Pamela and I have been in conversation about creating an educational program that will bring it to the schools. And so Mr. Collins, Mr. Temple as well, we're definitely looking forward to starting this type of conversation early with our children. And so we definitely will be reaching out to you as we create those type of tools to be able to present to the children. But I want to thank all of the members of the National Congress of Black Women, but I specifically want to give a special thank you to Pamela, as Dr. Bester has said, and also to Carrie. And also, Dr. Bester, I want to thank you as well. I also want to thank Vedette for agreeing at the last minute to step in and to do the purpose for us, and a job well done. I want to thank all of our presenters. Thank you so much. I know that there's so much more knowledge that you could have shared, and we definitely will give you opportunities. We'll be reaching back out to you, but I want to thank you for taking time out on this Saturday to come on this platform and share your information, share your knowledge with us. And we're hoping, our goal is to help our community. We want to continue to bring these types of conversations to our community. So again, thank you everyone, and a special thank you to our participants. Thank you for sacrificing your Saturday to gain this information. And it tells me that you're wanting to put yourself in a different position. There are so many nuggets that I wrote down, but one thing that stood out for me is what Mr. Temple said. He said, knowledge is power, but knowledge applied is the greatest power. And so we want you to walk away with the knowledge that you have and apply that knowledge to your life and get yourself in a better financial health situation. And so they shared their information with you. We ask that you stay in contact with them. If there's more information you want to know, please reach out to them. Take advantage of these resources that we have in our community. So Dr. Bester, thank you for a job well done in moderating, facilitating, stepping in. We definitely appreciate you. Thank you so much.
To all of our participants, to all of those who have presented, and to our attendees, thank you so very much. And we look forward to the next time. As Dr. Bird said, to whom much is given, of them much is required. And we understand that, and we will continue to do that for our community. You'll be hearing from us. So thank you so very much. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.